This is the Real Estate Investing 365 podcast, your go-to source for real estate investing strategies so you can start living the life you want and get where you want to go. With your host, Justin Hanna.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Investing 365. I got my buddy here, Steve Satterlee. He is located in Boise, Idaho. He owns Full Sail Real Estate out there, and he also has a wholesaling company, Dynamic Properties. What's up, Steve? Thanks for being here.
Hey, Justin. Thanks, man. I'm excited to be here today.
Yeah, no problem. I'm ready to dive into all your stuff. You're a big businessman and future billionaire, so I'm excited about that. Yeah. Before we dive into that, let's talk about where you come from, how you got started in real estate, and then we'll move into where you are now and all the businesses you're getting into.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks. So quick background on me. So I jumped into real estate back in 2006. At the time, I was working for the fire department and got my real estate license because things were expensive in 2006. And I thought, man, I'm not making enough money to buy a house. Let me jump in and get my license so I can, put some extra money in the coffers and buy a house. So I did that. So jumped in back then. I didn't really do much in real estate in 2006. 2007 was my first transaction. And really it was just organic, right? So I just kind of grew my real estate business organically. And I worked for the fire department up until just a couple months ago. So yeah, for the last, 13 years, I guess, I've been with the fire department and also building a real estate company. So I was a solo agent, just kind of doing my thing for 10 years. And then about 3.5 years ago, I made the move over to Keller Williams and kind of got the education on how to grow a business and turn this into an actual a company, as opposed to just based around me. And then that's when things got turned up a notch. We started building the real estate business to what it is today. And I think we're still in our infancy right now. I always call us like a small startup, but we're getting some traction. So it's about 13 years in the making, and we just kind of jumped in the investing side just this year for with intention. So just trying to figure it all out. It's been fun.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So before you got into real estate, did you know anybody that was in the real estate industry, or you just thought, dude, like these prices are crazy. Let me get a little side hustle going while I'm a firefighter?
Yeah, man. So I moved down to Arizona, Lake Havasu, and my grandma was a real estate agent down there, and that's where my first fire department job was. And so I thought, well, she was a broker down there and had her own company. I thought, well, that sounds fun. Why don't we just jump in and do some real estate? So I that's what prompted the idea, but it wasn't until I moved back to Boise a year later and started with Boise Fire Department that I thought, I'm going to get my real estate license at the same time. We worked a 2-on 4-off schedule, and I just thought, it's a great opportunity, my 4 days off, to be able to, sell a house here or there and kind of educate myself in the process. So that was kind of how that started.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's kind of a perfect schedule. When you're a firefighter, you can work 48 hours on, then you have this time off on that other time. And so if you're a hustler or grinder, you want to make some extra money, it's a perfect opportunity.
Perfect. And you got a good network, right? So you got a built-in brotherhood of guys that know, like, and trust you. And so you build rapport with them. And so it was a good network for me to be a part of. And I never saw myself as a real estate agent or business person. I went to school, got my fire science degree. That's all I ever wanted to do. But life has different turns. And so turned into run a business and sell some real estate.
Cool. Yeah, we'll dive into the investing side in a second, but we'll continue on this path because there's a lot of real estate investors out there that are always wondering, should they get their real estate license? Should they transition from their full-time job to being a real estate agent? And you obviously have some good insight on that because you were a full-time firefighter and a full-time agent at the same time. And you eventually transitioned to being an agent, team owner, and all these other businesses that you're into. So for the first 10 years, you said you were a solo agent. What does that mean what is a solo agent versus, what you are now with Keller Williams?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, for most guys that are in real estate, they'll understand that concept, but a lot of people will break out team versus solo. And so solo agent I was just kind of doing my thing. I had my license at a brokerage. I didn't really tap into the brokerage that much. Kind of just built my own little business for myself. It was just me, no transaction coordinator, no assistant, no nothing. So I was a solo agent in that space, just hung my license with that broker. And that was 10 years where I just kind of did business as it came up. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't enough that I really justified needing anything else. And I wasn't intentional. I didn't call people. I didn't prospect. I didn't market. I did almost nothing. It was just word of mouth. I led with, hey, I'm a firefighter. And then people, I thought you heard you sell real estate. Yeah. Because everybody's a real estate agent, right? So
everybody.
I led with the other, right?
Yeah.
But that also built trust. And so, so that was kind of the way that I did it, was
Hmm.
just naturally in conversation. So it was, but it's back to the original question about solo versus team. That was, 3.5 years ago, I decided to build a team as opposed to joining one. Had I known about teams, I would have joined a team. And had I been the ability to be full-time, I would have joined a team versus trying to build my own. But we can talk deeper in that later. But yeah, I made that choice as my production was ramping up in 2016. I did, I want to say I did like 41 transactions while working full-time job, wife, 4 kids. And from the outside looking in, man, it's like, it's killing it. But the reality was life was a little hectic. And so
Yeah, I bet.
that's what prompted me to say, I need to get leverage in my world and pass some of these opportunities off to other people. And that's when I started the team.
Okay. So then you just go to a team. So before you just, like you said, you just hung your license at a brokerage and you're kind of on your own. You kind of don't have any other help. You're kind of doing all your own marketing. You might hire like a transaction coordinator or contract one out, but you're doing everything. Whereas
Yeah.
a team, which Keller Williams is kind of famous for starting
Right.
like the team model,
Yep.
you go there and you're kind of a brokerage within a team. So you're the leader, you bring in the listings, but then you have buyer's agents and selling agents and
Yep.
transaction coordinator assistants underneath of you. So you're starting your own business under Keller Williams banner, right?
Yeah. Company within a company is what I always say. So we're essentially building, like for us, we're building a brokerage style team. Like if we were a brokerage, we'd look just like a brokerage to somebody that doesn't know the difference.
Okay. And what's the benefit of going to a team versus being a solo agent?
Man, we go forever on this one. So the biggest thing for me is it depends on what you need, right? Strengths and weaknesses. So if you're like just amazing at everything and you're good at everything you do, and you think you can just crush it, and you don't need to learn from other people, and you don't want to, go farther faster, I say like a solo agent's a great way to go. I think the best fit for a solo agent is somebody who doesn't want to do a lot of business and wants to stay kind of small, do 5 or 10 units a year. Or somebody who's really just wants full autonomy and isn't going to tap into learning from other people and, doesn't want to be part of the camaraderie that a team is. Right. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like solo sport versus a team sport. It's almost that same thing. Like it's a personality sometimes. But I believe that the team aspect allows anybody who wants to build a business I tell everybody all the time, come join our team, rip off and duplicate everything I'm doing. If I can't provide you extreme value, then leave at any time and you have the blueprint for how to build your own company or how to just run your own individual business. We just teach everything, how to do everything. We give a roadmap. We've got a 30-day onboarding that's every day tells them exactly what they need to do and then what they need to do for their first 90 days. And then we build a whole roadmap for their whole year. And I think it's just what you don't, I think that the teams of today are what a brokerage was set out to be. And then the brokers dropped the ball by saying, let's just hire hundreds of agents under our brokerage and not provide them the support.
Right.
And so the byproduct of that was eventually teams formed because people need the support and the brokerage could provide it. So yeah, I really think it's just a personality. But if it was me, I tell everybody like, go join a team. And then if you don't have enough opportunity within that team, branch out and do your own thing.
Well,
So,
yeah, that's totally true because, it's so easy. Like the barrier of entry to become a real estate agent is like nothing, right? You pay a couple $100 or whatever to take the real estate exam. You go in, you sign up, you hang your license at a place, but really you're not going to set yourself up for success. So I look at like joining a team as like, listen, like I didn't have to put in any time or any effort hardly to get my real estate license. If I want to do this seriously, I would want to join a team that has the systems in place. And if I don't always want to be on a team, like you said, take what they're doing, learn from it, get a good team leader like yourself that'll teach you the ropes and what to do. And then you can build your own business down the road, but it just cuts years off the process.
Yeah, that's it. It's a learning curve. Like the first 2 agents that we brought on were Rookie of the Year for not only our Keller Williams Boise, but for the whole Northwest. So the first 2 years we were in business, we had the Rookie of the Year both years, and they did like 45 units each year. And like my great example, or 46, the first one did 46 units in their first year. And 9 of those units came from them and 37 came from opportunities that I created for them.
Yeah.
And so I say, yeah, it's, most teams are 50-50 split. And I say, well, I'd rather have 50% of 37 units than 100% of 9 units. And we cover all the costs and expenses. We give all the training, we do all those things. And now that agent's got, a big group of clients that they can work with in the future. versus just having 9.
Right.
So for me, from that standpoint, I look at it and say, like, do you want 9 clients at the end of your first year? Or do you want to have 30 something clients at the end of your first year that will
Right.
help you for year 2? So it's just go farther, faster, right? That's it. And if the opportunity gets to the point where you feel like you're providing more value than the team, then leave. For us, we've built in a really aggressive split model where agents go to 60% to 70% based on their production and where their business gets sourced from, but essentially creating longevity, right? Like give people back what they're owed, like they've earned it.
Right.
So that's kind of our philosophy. But yeah, it's like if I'm going to jump into real estate investing, which we'll get into later, but like I'm not going to just try to do every single thing myself. I'm going to go meet somebody who's doing it, rip off and either partner with them or rip off and duplicate what they're doing with their knowledge, of course, and then go forward from there. But for me, everything is a rip off and duplicate. So like I'm not going to go. If I was going to start a podcast, I'm going to call Justin and say, "Hey, how do I start a podcast?"
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the person who knows and either align with them or partner with them in some capacity, or just figure out how I can get into their world as mentorship. So that's my viewpoint on like everything business.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's no point in rebuilding the wheel when it's already been done. Once you get to a certain point, then you can branch out and do your own things. But until you get to that point, you got to cut the timeline down as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So you left the solo brokerage or the solo agents thing in 2016, and then you started your team. So you went from being a solo agent. Now tell us where you guys are now. Like how many agents do you have? How many transactions a year are you doing? And then what is your goal for this year, 2019?
Yeah. So we're kind of so I'll give you our numbers, and then a lot of people question our business, but I've got 25 agents and we've got 8 admin. And we've done so far year to date, we've done 311 transactions and about 120 million in volume. So we've got a good trajectory. A lot of people will go, hold on, 25 agents, 300. That's not very many transactions per agent. I left the fire department, and then we've hired 20 agents since I left the fire department. So our growth really started in the last 10 months when I was preparing to leave. And so that's when our growth. So we have a bunch of agents on the team that are new to business and are just getting going. And so they're in their first 6 or 8 months on the team. So we've got a lot of people. So now I feel like we've got a foundation to grow a really big business here in the future. But right now we're still kind of in our infancy of what our potential is. But yeah, that was 2000. So that was just this year, 2019, that happened. But I left. So that was 2016. I came over here to Keller Williams and started trying to figure it out. But while working full time, you can only do so much, right?
Right.
So,
no, yeah, that's cool. And there's tons of brokerages out there, but everybody always wonders what's the best brokerage to go to. And even David Green, I'm kind of part of a mastermind with him. He's from Bigger Pockets. He's part of Keller Williams brokerage as well. And the reason is, I think why you chose Keller Williams and why he did, and lots of the top agents, is because for one, their mentality is like a go-giver mentality, to where instead of some brokerages, they're trying to hide all their secrets and they don't want to be a team and work with each other. Keller Williams is all about, teaching other people, teaching everybody all the tricks of the trade, helping other people excel and all this different stuff. And then you're able to get in there and they really help you build this business. And the point of me saying this is that 2016, 3 years ago, you came in here, you were a solo agent. You took a couple years to kind of get ramped up. You left your full-time job. Now you have 400 transactions a year, 120 million in volume, 25 agents working for you, in a short amount of time. And it's all because you went to Keller Williams. And they really just helped you out.
Yeah. So this is a mindset piece, but when I was at my previous brokerage, I said, hey, brokerage doesn't really do anything for you. They're not going to give me business and they're not really going to help me, which is true. Most brokerages, and everybody's a little bit different. But what I didn't realize, and it's a, kind of a cliche line, but your business will grow to the extent that you grow. And so for me, what I realized is it's who I need to surround myself with. And they always talk about who are your 5 people or your 5 profits or whatever that is. And so for me, it's who are the 5 people I'm surrounding myself with in my life and in my business that are helping me grow, because it's my growth journey that will allow me to grow a company. Because let's be honest, I'm not that smart. I'm not that good. I'll outwork anybody.
But you are good looking.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So I will outwork anybody. But the reality is, where I hit a wall was I was pretty good at selling real estate. And I went to lead people, and I'd never led people before, right? In the fire department, I didn't, start as a leader in the fire department, right? And I've, sports teams and stuff like that before don't really count. It's not the same as leading adults, and especially being on the younger side of the spectrum, leading other adults on how to sell real estate and then figuring out how to lead leaders who are leading my company now. That's been like where my biggest failures have occurred. So it was not only the models and systems, everything that Gary Keller's put in place at Keller Williams, and their willingness to share and collaborate. Like I just got back from the Gary Keller's top 100 mastermind down in Austin. Like the knowledge that's in that room is what helps you grow, right? But not just him writing a book about how to build a business, but it's then exposing you to people that are totally willing to be transparent and share everything about their world, their business, their leadership journey, everything. That's what helped me grow. And that's what's helped me to attract people. Like when I'm a 5, I can only attract 4s. If I'm a 7, I can attract 6s. You know, the better I can grow, the higher quality person I can attract to our organization, right?
Right.
It's rare to attract somebody better than you into your world, unless you're just like a super good salesman, and then you just get lucky, I guess. I don't know. So.
Right. Okay. So if somebody wants to, since this is more like a real estate investing podcast too, if somebody's is a real estate investor, do you think it's beneficial for them to be a real estate agent and an investor at the same time? And what's the pros and cons for it?
Yeah, I'm so surprised that, and I'm not a big time investor, right? Like I'm getting into it and figuring it out. We're getting ready to really ramp up, but it's always blown my mind that all these people in real estate just focus on getting real estate commission. And I know that they sometimes feel like those are big commissions, but the reality is that money burns quick, right? And that's 1099 money, and it's high tax. And like, so you can make money in real estate, but it's not about the money you make in real estate. It's about the money that you invest from the money you made in real estate, right? And that's what everybody always says.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's a no-brainer. You've got frontline access. And what my aha was a couple of years ago was watching some of these iBuyer programs come into the market and say, hey, we'll buy your house under market value, essentially. Mm-hmm. And, quick close cash. And I'm thinking to myself, well, why aren't we providing that? Like we're the front lines, right? We're the boots on the ground. As an organization, we should be providing that. And so that was kind of my big aha was, hey, why don't we start providing that service when we meet somebody, if that's a value add? And it's usually not, right? Like maybe 1 out of 100 people that we sell a house to, that's a value for them. But for me, it's a no-brainer. If you're an agent out selling real estate, ask the question, hey, if we could provide you a cash offer today, quick close, no contingencies, don't have to go on the market, don't have to go through the hassle, so that you can guarantee you can buy this other house, would that be a value add? If they say yes and you come to a price that's a win-win, great. Like, why would you not be investing? So I think it's a no-brainer. And I talk to agents all the time that represent investors, and I'm like, awesome, how many rentals do you have? And they're like, well, I don't have any. And I still rent my house. Still in a rental, they don't even own a home. And I just think, hopefully that's because they're just getting in the business. But as soon as they have a chance to own a home, as soon as they have a chance to start investing in real estate, I would hope that they would, if they're going to choose to represent investors. I just think that you need to play in the space before you're going to help others play in the space.
Yeah, no, for sure. So if you're going to be a real estate agent, I think definitely it's a no-brainer. You should be out there actively looking for deals and investing in real estate. If you're not currently a real estate agent, there is benefits to becoming an agent if you're going to be an investor, if you're in your local market, because you get to learn the market more. You see the deals as they come on, you see what people are paying, and you just like your knowledge comes up. But at the same time, it's going to cost you thousands of dollars every year to be an agent. And if you're not going to be active in it and trying to sell real estate and create a business, then it's not always a benefit, because there is some like liabilities and stuff you have. Is like disclosing that you are an agent in the transaction, right?
Yeah, and I actually think there's a huge value to an investor not being licensed, right? Like you can do things as a non-licensed investor that I can't do, and you have I guess less restrictions on you as a non-licensee. So I think there's a value add, but only if you partner with a licensed agent, right? I mean, I think if you're looking at the big picture, stay in your lane on what you're good at, and then find somebody who's really good at the other piece. And so if you found a really awesome agent who's really good at pulling comps, you don't have to learn comps all the time about the whole area. That somebody who's been in the business for 10 or 15 years, that's a value add. You're going to spend a couple of years trying to figure that out.
Right.
You can still figure that out, not as a licensee. So if you want to go that route, that's fine. Like I don't have an issue. I know some people say always partner. Yeah, I say do what's best for you. What is your strength? If you're very analytical and you think having a license would help you, by all means, get a license.
Yeah. I can always say if you get your license, if you want to like make a business of real estate of selling real
Yeah.
estate.
Yeah.
But don't get your license just because you think it's going to help you in purely investing, because there's people out there, like you said, that like yourself or some of the people on your team, they're going to be far better at selling real or at doing comps and all this stuff than you are, because they've
Yeah.
done it for years. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
if you're going to make a business, get your license. If you're not, find somebody to partner up with.
And like I said, partner with somebody always. Like that's the piece, right? Find the strengths on somebody that has the strength that you don't have. That's
right. Cool.
Most of these billionaires, I mean, they don't. Warren Buffett, think about what he's invested in. He doesn't know everything about every one of those. He's found somebody who knows everything about every one of those businesses.
Right.
At small scale, let's talk small scale. That's what we
Yeah.
all need to be doing here, right? Building those partnerships. So
Yeah. No, Jeff Bezos doesn't know how to like program the Amazon website. You know what I mean? Or make a phone call for the customer service or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So you do have a couple rental properties yourself, right?
Yeah.
Is the first step of this investing talk that we're going to have. So how many rental properties do you have? A couple?
Yeah. I think we have 8. So
Eight rental properties. Okay. So at what point in your career did you first buy your first rental property?
Yeah. So the first one I bought in 2010. But it was my primary. Like I'm big on the house hack concept.
Mm-hmm.
So the easiest way for somebody to get into the rental game is to take the current home. And I try to preach this to my clients all the time. Hey, don't sell your $250,000 home and move into the $400,000 home. Keep your $250,000 home and buy a $325,000 home, right? That's essentially what we did. Is we took our current home and we moved out of it and we moved into a slightly nicer home, not that much nicer. We could have afforded way nicer, and we kept both. And we turned the previous one into a rental, and we slowly just started doing that because it just makes sense. And you get best interest rate when you buy as a primary, right? The lowest amount of down payment. It's like the easiest barrier to entry to do it that way. So it's kind of just that was my model, at least.
Right. Okay. So all the 8 properties that you have, they're all single family houses. Do you manage the properties yourself?
Yeah. So against everybody's advice, my business coach included, which I attribute a lot of our success to hiring a business coach, right? And a leadership coach. I early on learned that I wasn't smart enough to make all the decisions. I needed to bounce ideas off somebody who had done it. But I attribute a lot of my success to him and bringing him into my world. But him and everybody else I pretty much talked to, I said, hey, I think I'm gonna start a property management company to manage my personal rentals once we had a couple of them, and also to offer that service to my clients, right? Because if my clients are wanting management and they call me, and I can keep them in our wheelhouse and take good care of them, then I'm probably gonna have a repeat client. What was happening was we were getting a lot of investors that we were kicking out to other property management companies that were doing a poor job. And then the feedback was, hey, your property management guy sucks. And so I tried a different one, and that would be good for 2 or 3 people. And then I'd get that feedback, which is pretty typical in that space. So I just said, why don't we just start a property management company? I'd hired a guy at the time who did property management. So he came in to work with me, and I just said, hey, let's build this thing together. And so he was on salary for me, and it's a small company still. We're not even pushing it. We're just taking what comes in. But I did that so that I didn't have to worry about it, because I don't want to have to do property management. And I'll gladly pay out $100 or $150 a month, or 7, 8, 9, 10% to somebody else to do it. And
Right.
That was my model.
Yeah. So really, you don't manage the properties yourselves. You started a management company to manage your properties and take on other people's properties, which is also a good play, because if you don't have a management company and you're an agent or a team leader, you're pushing off those clients to other property managers who are most likely going to be agents themselves. So down the road, that client is now going to go to their property manager instead of come back to you, which is the person that sold in the house in the first place. So
great point. And that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's almost no regulations in the state of Idaho for property management. So it's pretty much licensed agents who do it.
Okay. All right, cool. So you got 8 single family rentals, and they're all in the Boise area?
Yeah, they're suburbs, so kind of spread out. We're not really, hyper focused on where. We're more looking at, do they cash flow, or are we buying them under market value?
Okay.
A couple of them I've never even seen. So once I got a couple, and I don't have that many, right? But once I realized like this works, I can buy these. And then we moved into our house that we're currently in, and so we had a couple of rentals. The next batch of 4 that we bought, I think I only saw 2 of them. I had agents go on the appointments report back the numbers, shoot me some pictures, upload it to the Google Drive, do a video walkthrough, and said, here's the agreed upon price. Here's ARV. What do you think? And I said, yeah, do it. And so then we would figure out how to finance it, and I would just kick the agent back more than what they would have got paid if they listed it. So.
Okay. So let's dive into one of those real quick. So think about one of those properties, one of those 4 properties that maybe you didn't see.
Yeah.
The type of property it was a single family house, right?
Yep.
Okay. So how did you end up finding the property? Was it something that your agent brought, or was it something that's popped up on the MLS, or how did you find it?
Yeah, something that one of my agents brought to me, called me. I was actually at the firehouse at work, and he just called and said, I got this property. I just showed up to do the listing. Somebody else offered her $205, all cash, close next week. And it's in perfect shape, and it's worth $260. What do you want to do? I said, tell her it's in perfect shape, tell her it's worth $260, and then tell her we'll give her $210.
Okay. And so that's what you did. And
we'll pay for the moving truck.
And we'll pay for the moving truck. Okay. So how'd you finance the deal? Did you pay cash for it, or?
Yeah. So that one I scraped, man. So like I went to my Edwards Jones guy, was like, hey, I'm gonna have to pull some money out of the Roth. I went, I'll repay it in 60 days or whatever the time was. But I scraped from a bunch of different places on that one to pull the money together. I believe I did a quick cash out refi on my primary. They did a no appraisal. They'll just go off of assessed value, 95% loan to value. So I pulled some money out of that. I pulled some retirement, pulled from cash. I think I pulled out of my business operating account. I was like, hey, let's do this thing.
Yeah.
That's how I did it. So we scraped it. So I was in a good situation, obviously, to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But that's how we funded that first deal.
But I'm sure everybody out there, I mean, maybe not everybody gets scraped together $200,000, but they can, if the price is $100,000, if you know some people and you're in a bind, it's like if somebody's going to give you a house that's worth $200,000 and they say, hey, I'll give it to you for $100,000. Most people are going to be like, okay, I'm going to figure out how to get this money. And then your mind starts working, right? And then you're like, all of a sudden you got all these ideas of how to get the money, and you can make it happen.
Yeah, it's never about the money. It's always about the deal, right? You find the deal, the money's there. And that's what I've learned. And I've always preached that before I even had the money. I always said, somebody bring me a deal and I'll find the money. And that happened recently where a deal got brought up and I didn't have the money. I was like, okay, we just bought another one, like back-to-back houses. And I just bought one cash. And I was like, okay, I'm out of money. Because I'm doing the BRRRR strategy now, right? So we're buying. So my money gets tied up for like 6 months until we can refi it. And I just was like, I need the money. And it was really easy to find, especially if you get them under market value like that. I mean, we got a 12% hard money loan, no points up front, 6 months. I mean, for a 6-month term, which is only a couple $1,000s more than I would have paid if I financed it normally.
This is for the newer house that you bought? Yeah,
one of the most recent ones. Yeah.
Okay. So on this last house that you got for $210,000, you said, how did you know what the rent was going to be, that it was going to be a good deal? Is this because you're an agent and you know the area?
Yeah, I called my property manager and was like, hey, what's this thing going to rent for? And he said, I think we can rent it for $1,700 a month. And I went, well, that's not really that good, but gosh, I guess let's just do it anyway. And then we'll decide later if we want to, we want to get rid of it, flip it, whatever we want to do. So we just said, hey, if I can rent it for 17, would that make sense? And I went, yeah, 17. Yeah, I'll do it. It'll work. And if we sell it later, and then I went and reached out to some mentors and said, hey, should I hold this thing? Should I sell it? And we talked about, what the tax implications are to flips. And it kind of really just turned me away from, I don't want to flip a house ever. And that's really, and a lot of people crush it in the flip, and nothing against them. Just for me, I just realized I don't ever want to get rid of it. If I can buy it, I might as well just keep it.
Right. No, yeah, definitely. So, that doesn't really meet the 1% rule. A lot of people talk about that, but the reason why you felt okay to do it, I'm assuming, is because, you said the current value right now is, what'd you say, 260?
Yeah, it was 260. Yeah.
260 of the house. You're in Boise. It's a super hot market. It's always appreciating. It's just it's appreciating all the time, and probably not going to go down anytime soon. So you felt comfortable to buy it at 210. You're like, look, I got a built-in $50,000 buffer there. I'll rent it. If I can raise the rent or it makes a little bit of money, that's great. Or I'll just sell it and I'll make a, $20,000 after I pay commission and taxes or whatever on that. So that's why it made sense. Okay. So did you end up refinancing the deal, or did you still have it and it's still just cash flowing $1,700?
Yeah. I actually believe I just refinanced it a couple months ago. You'd think I would remember that, but I had a lot go on the last couple of months. It's been a little hectic. But let me back up real quick. So what I did, and this was in the back of my mind, this is kind of why I took the risk. I said, man, I bet that thing will rent for 17. I bet if we jacked rent to 25, we could get somebody in there on a month to month, because we have a ton of people moving into our valley. Right. And because we represent, 300 and some odd clients this year, we're seeing a ton of buyers coming in. I think we'll represent over 100 buyers coming from out of town, mostly from California, and just coming into the Boise area, coming into Idaho. So what we find is, because we represent a good portion of new construction, a lot of them come into town and want to build a house, but they need a place to stay. And so that happened all the time. We were finding these people like, I need short term. So I said, why don't I just put my house up for short term, month to month rental? So we did the VRBO Airbnb, and then we put it on as a month to month in a bunch of other places. And my goal being we could get $2,500 a month. And I think we rented it for that first year for $2,800 a month. We paid utilities based on that agreement. So we netted about $2,550 per month for the whole first year. And it was to somebody who, unfortunately, and I was with the fire department at the time, so it's kind of ironic, but their house had burned down, and the insurance, they found our house and contacted my property manager, and the insurance company paid for it. So for I think it was 10 months, the insurance company paid for them to live in that house at $2,800 a month. Dude. So then I was feeling like I was a genius, right? You get lucky. Yeah. Like I always say, I'd rather be lucky rather than good any day, right? But you get lucky. So I went, okay, I got lucky. And then after that contract expired, I said, you know what, let's just put it at $1,800 a month and rent it out. It's worth probably $330 right now. I think I owe $170 on it. I think is what we refinanced it at, maybe $175. So so we're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, no. So that's a perfect lesson right there, is that, just because the numbers might not work on a basic long-term rental, if you really know your market and you're learning everything, or you got a good agent that works for you, short-term rentals are a perfect opportunity to like jack the rent up. I had a couple people on before that's all they do is like VRBO or Airbnb stuff. And you can really, that's how people are making it work. There's people in San Francisco buying houses for $1 million for a 4-bedroom, but they're making it work for a short-term rentals per room rate. They're getting a lot of people in there. They're getting $8,000 a month for this house. There's always different ways around it. So absolutely.
And it's a roll of dice, but with that equity play, and what we actually determined after we purchased it, and actually I pulled comps on it, because we said yes to buy it and put the contract in place before I'd even pulled the comps. And my agent was a newer agent, so I was trusting them on that. But what I identified quickly after was that it wasn't worth $260. It was worth about $270 to $280 immediately upon closing. And we actually had to come back to the seller we didn't have to, but I felt obligated to as an agent, and just as a good human, I came back to the seller and just said, hey, we've looked at numbers, and I think if you list with us, we could get you $270, maybe even $280 for this house. And so we did that before we actually fully executed our contract, to let her know there was a ton more equity that she could be squeezing out of the house. And she still said, no, I want to be done with this place. And it was in perfect. When I saw the pictures, I was like, that's the house we bought. It was one of those, like, felt so proud, like, yes, I got lucky, but it was a great house. And it turned out it's just been an awesome rental ever since. I think it's been occupied every day since I bought it. So,
sweet. No, that sounds good. Well, I know we're kind of running a little bit short on time here, so let's jump forward to the next investing strategy that you have, and you're kind of building out a wholesale business right now in the Boise area, right? And tell me a little bit about that. Like, how did you realize that you wanted to get started? Because this deal that you just talked about would have been a perfect wholesale deal, but you ended up renting it out.
Yeah. So I went to a class called Coaching Skills Camp, which is a Keller Williams based course. I think it's actually Matt's coaching, down in Park City about a year ago, this time of year, last year. And I met a guy who was doing some wholesaling in his area. And I said, hey, I'd love to connect and see if you want to launch up in the Boise area. And so really what he had the beginning funnel, right? So he had the direct mail, he had the ISAs, the driving for dollars, I guess that's all he had at the point. Now we have voice broadcasts and mass text and all these other avenues, but he essentially had the lead generation funnel and had figured out how to do really well for himself. And I think he had done 40 or 50 wholesales or flips or buy and holds that year. And I said, well, hey, why don't we partner up here in Boise and let's do the same thing? So once again, like, I know that's not my thing, right? So, I knew my strength was knowledge of the market. I knew his strength was generating the opportunities. So I just said, hey, let's figure out a system that works well where you'll generate mass opportunities down here in Boise, and we'll go out and we'll service those. And so we're probably 6 months in right now. And I don't even think we've done a good job. We've generated about 700 seller leads, motivated seller leads. We've bought 4 houses. We didn't actually wholesale, but we did do a double close on one, like a $40,000 double close, which was kind of like a wholesale, but just the way we structured it, we did a double close. And then we bought 3 others that we've held on to. And it's been great. I mean, we've learned a lot. I've only been on one appointment personally. And that was one of the houses that we bought. But I've sent other people for me. That's the thing you shouldn't do. If you are the market expert, you need to go on the appointments. And that's what I've learned, is that you have to have the right person on the acquisition appointment to get the deal. So anyway, that's what we're doing right now, is we're doing heavy lead generation and generating a lot of opportunities, running everything through Podio, tracking all the calls and all the metrics and everything, and then going on the appointments. So.
Okay. So if somebody was just wanting to get started in the wholesaling space, because I think everybody kind of knows like how to get started in like a single family investing or buying a single family house. If somebody wants to get started in the wholesaling space, how can they kind of get started? Like, what would be their first step? Should they create a buyer's list first, or should they get the deal first?
I say go get the deal, because the buyers are always there, right? Like, so if it was me, I'd go out and find the deal. The bigger question is how to get the deal. But I would go find the deal, and then I would just go find all the agents in your local area who have recently sold houses to cash to investors, which you could talk to your agent, say, hey, can you pull me a list of every agent who's sold a house in this area cash to somebody, and then just take that house and kick it out to that group. Plus, or just go on everybody who has a similar program, a wholesale or iBuyer type program, go get on their list and say, hey, this is what I've got. They're going to be able to probably take it off your hands, and you can make a clean margin really easy. So that's the way I would do it. I wouldn't worry about building a list, because you can always sell that property to somebody if it's truly a deal.
Right.
There's all over. I hate to admit this, but like there's a ton of people who are buying things that aren't deals, and I see it all day long, and I cringe when I hear that people are doing it. But there's a deal to you and a deal to me and a deal to somebody else is vastly different. I mean, we were over in Omaha, and the typical listing is a 1.5% property out there, where we're not even getting a 1% property. In Boise, California is probably less than a 0.5, right? If you're using the 1% rule.
Yeah.
So a deal to me and you might be different than somebody else. So make sure it's a really good deal for your area, and then there's plenty of buyers.
Okay. So what are some of the strategies people can go out to like try to find the deal?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's the big question. So the number one for us right now has been direct mail with the message pretty much saying, we'll buy your house cash, no realtor fees, quick close, no contingencies. And I've been blown away at the response rate we get on that. And don't ask me the metrics. I told you I don't have them in front of me right now, but like I said, we're generating about 100 motivated seller leads per month using that strategy, mostly using that strategy. So that's been the best one, but I know that one takes capital. So say that you were just getting into business. Of course you can go down to your local title company or your county, and you can pull notice of defaults, or you can pull, gosh, it sounds terrible, with death and divorce. And, you can pull the list of people who would potentially be motivated, and you could literally just drive to their house and door knock them. You got to be bold to do it. And you got to be a really good person to show up there and have a conversation with those people, because a lot of them are not in a good place in their life. But if you didn't want to spend money, that's what I'd be doing. I just go out there and I just try to find one a month. If I was just getting into the business, find one person who wants to sell to me and have a good conversation with them.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the direct mail really, I mean, it does take some capital, but it doesn't really take a ton. So what you can do is go out and you can pull a list, find out what your list is going to be, whether it's going to be, high equity, probate, divorce, some type of motivated seller list out there. Then you can do your skip tracing stuff, or you can go on whitepages.com and find their phone number. And then you can go out and just start sending out direct mail. And really, as long as you do it every month and you continue to do it, because I think it takes like several touches, right? Is that kind of what you found?
Yeah. We don't do anything unless it's for 6 months. We were surprised. I mean, we started 9 months ago with the process, but we didn't get leads starting to come in until about 6 months ago. It'd take, like, don't jump into anything unless you're going to do it consistently for 6 months. You just won't get the result, especially in this space. You gotta be in front of people. And then once the phone starts ringing, it just happens, right? You just keep, as long as you keep doing the marketing, the phone will keep ringing.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that kind of brings us to our next section is like, if somebody is new and they're wanting to get into whether it's single family investing, multifamily investing, doing the wholesale thing, they need to start educating themselves and learning not just how to do it, but the lingo, and they need to learn their market, and they need to learn all that stuff. So what is like for you, what is your favorite resource to learn about stuff? Is it podcasts, books, seminars, coaching, something? What is it for you?
Yeah, for me, so the start was, and what got me going was a couple of years ago was I happened to get in and started listening to Bigger Pockets podcast right when they started. So for me, I jumped in early on that, which was, I felt lucky that I did. I guess the one thing I will say, word of caution on that, they have so much knowledge in that podcast, and they talk about so many different ways that it's like you could squirrel out on 30 different ways to get into investing. Listen to a good chunk of those podcasts and then figure out who or what style of investing you think you want to get into, and then go find every podcast and book, anything about that type of investing, right? Because there's just so many different things they talk about. But for me, it was podcasts. And of course now there's a bunch of good podcasts out there, yours included, right? With, how to get into the investing space and talking to like these heavy hitters that are doing it at a high level. So for me, that's the number one, because it's relevant. The books I like because you can see it, and it's like, it's tangible when you're looking at models and everything, and you can, like, the millionaire real estate investor. Awesome book, right? When it comes to an investing platform, or how to build out an investing platform. And I really do appreciate it, but I like also to just hear from somebody what they're doing. So for me, it's get an idea and then get really focused and buy books and read up on that specific way you're going to do it, and go after one until you start getting results. And then you can add in a next pillar or a different style.
Right. No, it definitely makes sense. Real quick, I want to touch on coaching. You had mentioned you have a business coach. What do you think about coaching or mentorship programs?
Yeah, it's $1,000 a month, which my initial thought was like, how can somebody ever coach me that they're not living every day in my shoes, right? They're not a firefighter and running a real estate business and got 4 kids and got a wife and, got a property management company. Like, they don't have that. Like, how could they ever coach me? And that's because at that point I wasn't coachable, because I didn't know what I didn't know. And once you realize that it's the powerful questions that somebody asks you that helps you self-discover either who you need to become or what you need to do in your life to get what you want, like, it just takes you stopping and realizing, like, you're definitely not the smartest person in the room. Everybody else around you has something to add to you. But so I'm a big fan of getting somebody who's done what I want to do and having them coach me, because they know the trials and tribulations you're going to go through. So I'm a huge fan of it. I've got 2 coaches right now, and I think it's super powerful because they coach differently. And for $1,000 a month, you start looking at what your time per hour is and what you're paying your coach. You start realizing, like, yeah, it's probably worth it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because you can cut time off. Time is our enemy, right? Time's the thing we're always fighting against. So if you can cut a couple years off of your thing just for a few $1,000, it's probably worth it. I mean, everybody's different, but I'm kind of on board with that. So what about an app? What's a favorite app or a program that you guys use in your business or in your personal life that helps you save time?
Yeah, that's a good one. Let's see. Well, in our investing business, we use Podio as our CRM, which has a good little app platform, right? So which is nice. In our real estate business, we use Boomtown as a CRM in our app. But the app for me that's a productivity app is Trello. So I use Trello all the time. Essentially, it's like my sticky notes, right? It's a virtual sticky note. So I've got what's my 20% every day, what's my 80%, and then all the things I need to do in my personal life. And then I've got boards for my real estate company and for the investment company and for the property management company. And it's really nice because I can collaborate with the people within each space on what we need to do, what we need to accomplish. And I can move things from, an idea to we're implementing a strategy to we're in the middle of executing on it. And I can have progress, so I can actually see the progress, what percentage of the task has been done to it's been completed. So I can watch. So I'm essentially, I could run the business through that platform without even being in the office. Probably not as effectively, but it's nice that you can see it. So for me, everything is kind of cloud-based. So between Trello and Google Drive, the G Suite, like, we use that for everything we do.
Okay, cool. Perfect. So what is your best advice for somebody that wants to get into real estate investing, real estate sales, or anything in the real estate business period? Like what is the best advice you can give them?
Just do it. You got to just jump in. I spent a couple of years listening to those bigger pockets podcasts, not really getting traction because there's so much information, and got into that analysis paralysis and all the worries. So my best advice would be go find a guy like you or a guy like me or somebody that's even doing way more than we're doing, and say like, hey, how can I help you? What, can I follow you around? Like, don't ask to get paid. Just say, hey, can I spend a day with you? Is there something I can do to be a value add to your world? Is there something I can do to learn from you? Like, and just add value to somebody else, and that right there, and then just essentially attach yourself to that person and follow them and learn from them. They're going to be jacked, by the way, to have somebody that's that excited. Like most everybody I know wants to share their experience with somebody. And so that piece would be, that's what I would do. I would find the person who's doing it and get in their back pocket and let them take you on a ride. And if their world eventually isn't big enough for you, then you can leave the right way. Or if it is big enough and you guys can build an amazing world together, then do it. Right. Like,
Yeah.
don't go try to figure it out on your own. There's somebody already doing it. Like my whole model is rip off and duplicate everything.
Yeah.
And I say that meaning like talk to people and get their best practices, not right. Like not hack their computer, rip off their stuff. Like, hey,
Right.
Justin, what are you doing that I can learn from? Like, oh, well, will you send that to me? I don't need to reinvent the wheel. If you already have the spreadsheet that outlines all that, why do I need to go create my own spreadsheet? Right?
Yeah.
If you already have a way to analyze property, well, why do I need to create one? And in time, give value back through your time or through your energy or through your work to that person.
No, I totally agree on that. And one thing is too, like that I feel about this is don't try to go after Brandon Turner of Bigger Pockets and ask him to be your mentor.
No, yeah.
Like you don't want to go out there and try to get Gary Keller to be your mentor. You need to find somebody that's like a few steps above you that's really making waves or doing big things, because these people that are way up there that you want to be like, they don't have time for you. You know what I mean? They're not going to get there. So you need to find somebody in the middle of you and that person you want to be at, so you can kind of ride their coattails on the way up. And then you help somebody that's below you on the way up too. You know what I mean? So that's the way I look at it anyways.
Always have a hand reached up to the person above you and a hand reached back below you to the person that's on their way up. Right. And if you do that in life like that, you create that relationship with everybody around you. People want to align with you. And plus like success isn't measured by the number of dollars we have in our bank account. Success is measured by how fulfilled we are with our life. And we only get fulfillment by pouring into other people. And that's the reality of most of these people who are crushing it. Like when you really get into like mindset coaching, you find that a lot of these people are really empty because they haven't built a fulfilling life. They've just had a successful career. And that's what they're trying to do now is go back and create a fulfilling life. And so the fulfillment is helping somebody else accomplish something. So
yeah, no, definitely. Okay, so what about an influencer real quick that somebody you like to follow? I know you're not really on social media, but is there somebody that you look up to that you're not mentoring by, but that you like to follow after?
Yeah, so when I came over to Keller Williams, I didn't understand why everybody looked up to Gary Keller. But now that I've been in this world and understood, like he would be the guy that I look at and say, I mean, he's a billionaire. He doesn't need to be pushing for our industry. He doesn't need to be doing what he's doing. And he's out there just hustling every day to make the industry better for the people within it, which is really cool. So he would be one in the real estate space that's a no-brainer. I mean, those guys have Bigger Pockets, man. They poured their heart and soul into that company for a long time, probably didn't make any money for a long time. And they really gave back with the big picture of obviously building a good business. But those guys, I've followed kind of their journey, which is great. So in the business space, yeah. And then, on the personal space, like my wife, like she's a rock star, dude. Like I look at her, she's mentally strong. Like she's wise beyond her years. Like she teaches me every day, right? And she stays at home with our 4 kids, and I learn a lot from her. So like, you just look for those people around you. You just surround yourself with those people. It doesn't, they can be idols and you never talk to them, or they can be somebody that lives in your house with you, but they're all over. You just got to keep your eyes peeled,
Yeah. Our wives definitely, I have 3 kids, and me and Steve, we know each other, and our wives are definitely the harder workers of the relationship.
Yeah. Sometimes I got it good, right? Like I got a lunch appointment I'm jamming out to. It's like, she's like, you go to lunch with people. I stay at home with kids all day. So, we have different perspectives, and that's the beauty of this world is like, take everybody's perspective and see it from their viewpoint and learn from them. And that's how we all grow. So.
Right. Okay. So where can people find out more about Mr. Steve Satterlee, Full Sail Real Estate, and what you're doing in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I want to say hit me up on social. I'm never there, but like I am on social media. We're Full Sail Real Estate Boise out here in Boise, Idaho. It's Full Sail FULLSAIL. My email is steve@fullsailboise.com. You can hit me up that way. That's probably the easiest way. I got this awesome setting where my phone doesn't ring anymore if it's an unknown number. It's the best thing you can do if you are a busy business person and getting like solicitor calls or people you want to talk to. So calls don't work for me, but emails are awesome, and I've got an admin that's overseeing my email and my social stuff. So you can hit me up that way. I'd love to connect with anybody in any capacity to help or work on putting a deal together. So
cool, right on. Well,
yeah.
Steve, thanks for being here, man. I look forward to the future. I look forward to staying in touch and seeing what we can make happen. And thanks for being on the podcast. And I'll talk to you soon.
Right on, man. Appreciate your time, Justin. Thanks so much.
All right, man. Talk to you there.
Take care.